Live from Liberty Street Restaurant in the downtown Galleria, it's the Paul Hornung Sports Showcase with your host, college and pro football Hall of Famer, Paul Hornung. Brought to you by UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business. By the Collins Auto Group, where one name means more. More selection, more value, more service. By Humana. High-quality healthcare services at affordable prices. By Coors Light, there's no slowing down the silver bullet. By your local Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant, where every day is a celebration of food. And now, here's Paul.
Welcome to Store Cable Channel 11. This is the Paul Hornung Sports Showcase. We're coming to you live from the Liberty Street Restaurant. And I'll tell you the truth, I'm glad I'm here tonight because with Maury and Dave Buchart, I can buy a dinner and sign. Of course, Billy Kilmer is going to be my guest today. He came in early. Of course, he wanted to go out to the track. We went out to Churchill Downs. I'm broke. And Kilmer hit a couple of perfectas, so he's flush with the cash in his pocket. Everybody at the bar won. Look at all the winners up there. Look at them. They're laughing. They're laughing. Everybody had the last exacta, paid about $4.60 but me. But anyway, I'm glad I'm down here. Just like I told Maury, I'm going to have to sign tonight. Don't have any cash left for any of the good food here. So anyway, we think we got a good show for you. As I said, my special guest is Billy Kilmer, 17 years in the National Football League. And I was with him down in New Orleans for his first year. He played with the 49ers in New Orleans, and then, of course, led the Over-the-Hill gang into a couple of Super Bowls. And we got a few stories that I think you'll like. And then a little bit later on, we're going to switch to basketball. Basketball's, of course, coming. But before we get to that, let me ask this crowd. Can U of L, and I doubt it very seriously, but can U of L or UK, if they win their last two games, you think they can get to a bowl? You think they're going to... UK, of course... We got Harry Jones here, and he nationally thinks UK is going to get to a bowl game. For heaven's sakes, he played there. And I really think if UK can win their last couple of games, they got a tough game, of course, against the University of Florida. And next week, we're going to have Jerry Claiborne on the show along with Rick Pitino. It's going to be next Tuesday, which a special edition of the show will be coming to you live right here next Tuesday night instead of Thursday night because of Thanksgiving. So we're going to have Rick Pitino and Jerry Claiborne on the show. And, of course, it's going to be a special UK offering. We want to make sure you put that down on your agenda and tune in. But anyway, U of L starts off this week against the University of Valenzuela, or the Valenzuela national basketball team. But anyway, U of L is going to come out. They've got a lot of young kids who can jump through the sky. And I think that this year's U of L basketball team is going to be one of the most entertaining basketball teams we've been able to watch in a long, long time. So next couple of weeks, we're going to have Denny Crum here, November 28th. We're going to take a look at the basketball season coming up. And that week, of course, UK plays U of L. It's always a big game around here. We're going to get a little insight about that. But anyway, Billy Kilmer, who incidentally played basketball out at UCLA when Denny Crum was the coach out there. So we're going to talk a little about that. So stay tuned right there. We're going to be back with the showcase in just a minute.
Some insurance didn't even pay for your mom's allergy shots.
Or your cold last month. And because I didn't reach the deductible, it didn't pay for my stitches.
Humana has a range of plans to meet your needs. From affordable deductibles to no deductible at all.
Sue, what did my company insurance cover last year?
Nothing.
If you want coverage you can use, you want Humana.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months. It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
To us at UPS, this is a custom car. Why, this beauty's been modified dozens of times. It has a fiberglass fuel-efficient front, a rapid opening foam-filled door, a sunroof, all of which makes us more efficient, so we can deliver next-day air for up to half what other companies charge, and allow our drivers to be seen in one mean set of wheels. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
We could have been satisfied being the home of the chimichanga. After all, a chimichanga is the Chi-Chi's celebration, all wrapped up in a tortilla. But hearing you say wow wasn't enough. So we created the Cowabunga Chimichanga Special. It's our famous chimichanga plus cheese, nachos, and sopapillas, all for $6.95. Wow, you say? No, Cowabunga. If you don't want to slow down on your way to the top, it's the right beer now. Because you know, to make a beer as refreshing as a mountain stream, you got to start with a mountain stream. It's the right beer now. When a night on the town might last all night, call for the taste preferred at Better Night Spots. The silver bullet, the one that won't slow you down. It's the right beer now.
All right. That last commercial, Coors Light. Billy's had about 8 Coors Light already. I don't know if we'll get through the show or not, but anyway, let me tell you a little something about my special guest. This special friend of mine, Kilmer played 17 years in professional football with some various teams we'll talk about. But I'll tell you one thing, here's the kind of guy, if you're ever in a foxhole in a fight, this is the kind of guy you want with you. This is a guy who's no stranger to Louisville. He likes the horses, I think, as much as I do. And as I was kidding earlier, we went out to the track today and had a great time. But Billy, I want to thank you for coming in and being my guest tonight. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Paul. It's great being here always in Louisville and all these fine people out here. And of course, Churchill Downs is a special place. I love
How many years you been coming to the Derby?
Well, I don't know. You brought me here in about 1969, and I've been coming most of the time ever since, and it's a great place. Good people here, and I've always been interested in horses and owned some of my own, and, you know, it's great to be here. And, you know, you're always my idol, you know, because you were one of the best run-pass option guys, and I always wanted to be like you. And I guess I just kind of, you know, melded into your image.
Well, I tell you, let's go back. You know, you're talking about run-pass option. Billy was, of course, a single-wing tailback, All-America at the UCLA when Red Saunders was the coach back then. And Billy, when you were actually drafted by the 49ers, the #1 draft choice, you start off as a running back. You know, you were playing running back too that first year.
Well, really, they drafted me to run the shotgun. And Red Hickey, who invented the shotgun formation, which you see Roger Staubach and John Elway and a lot of teams use today, Red Hickey was the inventor of that offense. And he thought it was going to be the offense of the 60s. And so I was a tailback, made All-American out of UCLA and everything like that. And so he drafted me #1 to run that shotgun. And he traded Y.A. Tittle. The week I came in, he traded Tittle to the New York Giants. And we did run that offense in my rookie year, and we ran it fairly good.
You and Brody. Was Brody there?
And Bobby Waters. You know,
Bobby Waters.
God bless him. He just died of Lou Gehrig's disease and was a great coach, college coach for years. It was John Brody, Bobby Waters, and myself. Mm-hmm. And and I could run a little bit, and we used to run the run-pass option off that. But I always told Red Hickey, I said, you know, this offense won't go unless you let me run that run-pass offense. Now, if you're going to, I always went in on first down, so everybody knew I was going to run. And Bobby Waters came in on second down, and the situation dictated to him. You know, if it was long, he'd throw. If it was short, he'd run. And then when Brody came in, he never run. He was scared to run. So they knew John was going to pass. So finally they caught on to that deal. It wasn't good rotating quarterbacks. And I always said, you got to let me run it all the time. And the pressure point of that offense is the run pass. You know, the running pass play. And I could run it, and you did it, Frank Gifford did it. There wasn't a lot of guys that could do it, and you don't see it that much today.
I tell you, you know, people don't remember. Of course, they remember Billy Kilmer as being the quarterback, I think, more of the Redskins than anything. But he was a great runner, made the Pro Bowl at rookie year. But when Billy snuck out once and he was going back to San Francisco when he was single, he took a right turn off the freeway, fell asleep, and luckily we've got him with us, much less back in a football uniform, because that really stopped that running. You went to quarterback after that, right?
Well, you're right. It wasn't my rookie year. And my second year I came back, and Red Hickey made me a running back. He kind of shelved the shotgun, and we were light on running backs. It was my second year, and I was starting running back for the Niners, and I had a 5-yard average, and I ended up being selected as an alternate in the Pro Bowl that year, and then I got in a car accident, snapped my leg off, and I was very lucky to even...
What do you mean snapped your leg off?
Well, just down at just above the ankle, I got it caught on a brake pedal, and it snapped. I mean, literally like a twig snapped. It was just laying there.
Did you think that was the end of it? In the recuperation time?
I'll tell you what, the thing that scared me the most was when, let's say 24 hours later, the doctor walked in when I was conscious and said, you know, Billy, you better get prepared for this. We might have to take your leg because of infection. So that's a very sobering thought at the time, and you reflect a lot of things, and I think the biggest thing I thought about after he left, I said, well, I'm going to prove him wrong, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to play, and luckily I got to play another 16, 17 years.
You know, Billy and I knew each other. In the year I got suspended from the league from gambling, the rumor was that Rick Caceres and Bobby Lane and John Brody and Billy Kilmer, the day I got suspended, they hid for about 3 weeks. They didn't want to have to get any close to the phone because they thought they might be getting a telephone call.
I didn't know anything about what you're talking about. I'm just a kid. I come out of your cell. I don't know what you're saying.
Anyway.
But you did teach me when you came to New Orleans a few years later.
That's right. We had some fun down in New Orleans. In fact, I've asked my wife for Billy, so Billy can tell his story. Everything before Angela doesn't count anyway.
Doesn't count. Nothing counts.
But I was forced to room with Kilmer down in New Orleans. Why don't you tell the story? I mean,
well, Paul, ex-wife, banged on my door one weekend, and of course somebody banged on the door, and I opened the door, and here's Paul's ex-wife and his ex-mother-in-law and chauffeur fella walking into my room and throwing all his clothes in the middle of my apartment and saying, he is yours. I don't even know where he is. I have no idea what's going on. I says, okay, that's fine. He closed the door and they left. Well, his clothes stayed in the apartment for about 4 days. In fact, those suits started to fit me pretty good. I mean, I says, I hope he never returns. Because I got me a whole good wardrobe here, because in those days I just wore Levi's and polyester anyway. So finally, about 3 in the morning, here come Paul. He come banging on the door and woke me up. He says, I guess I'm staying with you. I says, yeah, in that back room. Get back there.
I tell you,
and
folks,
then we roomed there for 3 or 4 months.
The first couple of years of a new franchise is always special. Now, when you get a chance to look back, the New Orleans Saints was probably, in those days, it was unbelievable. Billy was the quarterback of that group, and it was amazing. I don't know how they got the ball from the center to the quarterback. It was hard sometimes just to get it to the handoff man. I mean, it was really a unique experience watching that.
I remember once, this is a good story too, and this was our first year, and we had an offensive line that was, well, you might call them porous. Because you could run water right through them, boy, and everything came. So Jimmy Taylor, the great running back and your partner in the great backfield of the Green Bay Packers, it was his first year. We're playing the Dallas Cowboys. And, you know, we were really kind of playing pretty good that day. In Dallas, it was raining hard, remember? Yeah. And so...
Y'all beat the number every week. You remember that in those days?
You remember it, I don't. So anyway, we had this one play. It was a short yardage play. And it was man-on-man blocking. And we had a tackle there that on this one thing. And Willie Towns was a real good defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys. He was mean and everything. But Jimmy Taylor, you know, he was rough. So I called Jimmy's number, you know, to run off to the right side. And I turned around and handed it to Jimmy. Just as I handed it to Jimmy, Willie Towns hits Jimmy right square in the head. Well, I didn't see the block, but Jimmy had seen what the block, and this tackle on a short yardage play had pulled and left Willie Towns to hit Jimmy right square in the head. Now, when I handed the ball, all I could hear Jimmy yell, he says, George, I'm going to kill you. And he starts, and from the bottom of the pile, he says, I'm killing you. How can you pull on short yard? And Jimmy jumped up, and he chased this kid all around the bench.
The offensive tackle,
the offensive tackle, all around for pulling on a short yardage play. So that's the kind of offensive line we had. We didn't know what we were going to do. You had to have a shield.
It was really a circus. There was more people on the sideline. Al Hurt was playing the horn behind the bench. Pete Fountain was playing the clarinet. They had the band behind the bench. It was the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it was, and they had great halftime shows.
It was New Orleans, wasn't it?
It really was. And you know what? I always try to tell those guys, my teammates, I said, boy, if we can just win a little bit, we're kings.
That's right. We're going to be back and talk a little about basketball, his association with Denny Crum at UCLA, and of course, we're going to get into some Redskin stuff, which was really the meat of Billy's career. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
When only the best is good enough, you'll always find the best at Roof Lighting. Diverse designs, superior styling, unsurpassed quality, and a professional staff to assist you. That's Roof. And opening soon, Roof's new lighting design center in Eastgate, just east of Middletown. An additional location to serve your total lighting needs. Roof Lighting, the complete lighting, design, and planning centers. Here for you because you deserve the very best.
Here's to the people who work so hard to keep our city going. And here's to all the things you do to keep our city growing. Here's to the people we're looking to make this city's dreams come true. To the people, hard-working people, Bank of Louisville's here for you.
It's all right, I've got my card.
I like it.
I like to wander and roam, I like to call back home. I like my MCI. I like you loud and clear, I like you close and near. More MCI. I like my MCI.
You know, I've been investing with J.C. Bradford for over 20 years. Why? Well, first of all, I trust them. They know what they're doing here, and the bottom line is I've made money with J.C. Bradford. You don't have to have a large portfolio to get good service from Bradford's brokers. Here at Bradford, they treat everyone like a big investor. They really do care. So if you want to watch your money grow, call J.C. Bradford and let them go to work for you. I did.
Beautiful furniture from who? Smith's Furniture, that's who. It brings out the best in everyone.
All right. My special guest, another thing that we forgot to mention, Billy does a show every Monday night on ESPN, a preview of the Monday night game with Allie Sherman and John Saunders. Is this your first year?
My first year. It's called Monday Night Matchup, and we critique the Monday night game coming up. And, you know, if you watch the show, it's NFL Films does it, produces it, and we got a lot of great film work. And Allie and I have been pretty much on the ball of analyzing the game and everything. I'm not a very good predictor, but analyzing the game, I'm pretty good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask Billy to come up when we get to the games in the Coors Light portion of this show, when we start picking the games, all 14 of them. We're going to ask Billy to come up and be our guest picker this week. Let's get a little bit basketball. Of course, Denny Crum is really, I mean, he's God around here. People love him. He's won, and I really believe that he probably made the best decision of his life when he decided not to go back to UCLA a few years ago and stay right here. And he's going to have a great basketball team. But Talk about Billy Kilmer back in '59. You played for UCLA for John Wooden before. What was Denny, a freshman coach?
Yeah, well, in high school, I was a pretty good basketball player, and I made what they call All-CI Player of the Year my senior year and all that. And I had gotten offers from John Wooden, Pete Newell, you know, all the coaches to play basketball.
San Francisco.
He was at Cal, Pete Newell,
that's right.
And I had gotten a lot of offers to play basketball. Well, I decided to play football on a scholarship. So I went to UCLA and I played my sophomore year, and I had played some intramural basketball and did pretty well. And Wooden was a little thin in players going into the '59-60 season. And he had seen me play in this intramural league, and we had won it, and I was scoring a lot of points and everything. And so he said, would you come out and help us out? And I said, yeah, you know, I'd like to. So I played the '59 and '60 year. I had cracked my ankle during the football season in '59, and I really never got really in shape again for basketball. But I did play for him. It was a great experience for me to be with that man and listen to his coaching techniques and things he did. It was a great experience for me to be him. And Denny Crum was the freshman coach at the time, and he had just left, you know, had played for UCLA.
You were high on Denny all along. I remember you telling me that U of L got one of the best basketball coaches. He's going to be great. Well,
I knew at the time, and he was dedicated to the game, and Denny was a great player, too. I watched him in junior college. Where I went to junior college, he scored 42 points one night there and set a gym record. And, you know, he just was dedicated to the game, you know, and every year I see him on one of his recruiting trips. You know, he takes a recruiting trip every year. You probably don't like this, but I see him at the Augusta National recruiting every year.
Yeah, he really recruits. I'll tell you, though, he's got some pretty good kids out of Georgia. Let's talk. You talk about dedication. Let's talk about the Redskins. That was a special time. I mean, number 17, George Allen brought you in there. Everybody thought it was all over. And then how many years were you there?
Well, it's interesting. You know, you and I like the horses, and I was at Hialeah in 1971 when I got traded. And I got a call. I wasn't really right at the racetrack, but I just had left and went back to my hotel, and George Allen had a call, and I told the friend I was with, I says, I've got traded to the Redskins. And you know my first reaction to that? I said, you know what they've done? They've traded me behind Sonny Jurgensen. It's going to be the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. And that's how negative I was. And I went up there and talked to George. I said, George, I'm playing out my option. I'm not going to play here. I said, you can have me for a year, but I'm going to leave because I know I can't beat out Sonny Jurgensen. I want to play. And, you know, it's funny, ironic how fate is. I stayed on that team. He got hurt early, you know, in the exhibition season, and I stepped in, and, you know, we started winning, and then, you know, we alternated. But I initially played most of the time, and we went to the Super Bowl in '72 and had a lot of championship seasons. But it was funny. My initial deal was, and I got mad at the Saint management at the time. I said, boy, they put me manager. I'll never play again, you know, and I figured my career is over. But it's funny how fate turns over for you if you just stay in there and not, you know, worry about it.
Of course, they always kid Billy about his throwing motion. Not his motion, but they always say, here's a guy that won more football games never throwing a spiral in the history of the game. But you don't mind that. You don't mind that kind of a rib. It's kind of a thing that it's a character of Billy Kilmer that everybody's going to remember.
Well, I guess it might be a character, but it's really it's a birth defect.
Yeah.
Because my hands aren't big enough to throw a spiral. I had to hold on too tight and it come out that way. Yeah. That wasn't my arm that was weak, because I played baseball and did a lot of things, you know, and I could throw the ball 70 yards. But it was because I had my hand there, my birthday. I guess my mother's fault. Right?
Let me tell you something. You know who else had a small hand throwing the football? It's Johnny Unitas. Unitas didn't have the big mitt. And you take a look at a guy like Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw would grab hold of the whole football.
Sonny Jurgensen, he's got fingers that just extend down there, and he could grab those, you know, round the ball. And those guys, you know, they didn't have to put pressure with that thumb. See, that thumb would cause it to move funny.
Well, Billy played with some great football players. I always felt that John Riggins was, You know, he might not go down as one of the all-time great backs, but I tell you, I don't know who could run the football better.
Well, John Riggins John Riggins wasn't just more than a great back, he was a leader. And John Riggins had a charisma about him, even just in the locker room or wherever he was, to just say the right things, and people would follow, and they, you know, knew he was serious. I mean, John Riggins, of course, you know, you hear a lot of things about him, but he was on that football field, he was a leader. And I was the instrumental in him coming to the Redskins. And every year, George Allen would grab me and pull me into the office after the season was over and says, what guy do we need somebody on offense? What do we need on offense to help our team? And this particular year was after the 75 season. And we lost, Larry Brown was getting a little older, and we needed a running back. And I said, George, if you can, go out and get John Riggins. He's playing out his option with the New York Jets, and we need him. And if you get him, and boy, George went out and paid him the money and took a lot of flack. In those days, George took a lot of flack, giving him the Jets 2 number ones and paying him $450,000. And everybody said, you know, in a couple of years there, we didn't use him right. But he paid off, and he was well worth the price.
You know, I just want to say one thing about Billy. I've known Billy a long time, and I don't think I've ever met any other athlete in any sport that is probably better to the fans, because I've been with Billy many times when somebody would come up to the table, and Billy would not only sign an autograph or they introduce themselves to him, Billy would invite him to sit down, have dinner with him. I mean, I've been in many dinners where, you know, you look up and Billy's already invited 5 or 6 people to have dinner with us, and he talks football. You talk football till 5 in the morning, anytime you want. I just want to say, Billy, you're a class act, and I want to give you a little something about the show. It's a keychain made up by Sang Jewelers. You don't have to pay me for anything either. This is a free deal, Bill. So this is from Sang Jewelers, one of the best jewelers in town. I want you to have that.
Why not as a money clip? I need some money.
Well, you got the money today. And here's a couple of tickets anywhere in the country. Have yourself a couple free dinners and best Mexican restaurant in the world.
Very good. All right.
I want to bring him back. We're going to talk a little about the games, the point spreads. He kids a lot, but he has been known to make a bet. Now we can bet, right? We're out of it. You can bet on the game.
Sure.
If he had never made a bet, I want to tell you one thing. I'll jump off this bridge right now, right out that window. But anyway, we're going to be back and talk a little basketball immediately with the University of Bellarmine people. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, Paul.
I never imagined that a prescription would cost $80. My insurance keeps going up, and it doesn't even cover prescriptions.
The Humana Gold Plan can cover prescriptions, vision care, and all Medicare-eligible doctors and hospital costs.
There's so much Medicare still doesn't cover.
Chances are the Humana Gold Plan covers it.
It's all so complicated.
No, it's all so easy. Call 1-800-647-0070 now.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months. It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
American business can save millions of dollars every year with the UPS Next Day Air letter. Unlike other companies which frequently charge up to $14, UPS, because we're so efficient, charges only $8.50. And we guarantee overnight delivery to every address, coast to coast. The UPS Next Day Air letter, the super saver of overnight letters.
For help with the design and purchase of a new air compressor, you need Air Systems. For service or repair of your present system, you need Air Systems. For parts and lubricants for your air compressors, you need Air Systems. If your compressed air system fails at any time of the day or night, you need Air Systems. I'm Jim Turner, owner and president of Air Systems. If you need a new air compressor, parts, repair service, or emergency rental, call me at Air Systems in Louisville.
When it's time for the weekend, it's time for the winning feeling at Churchill Downs.
Sitting here ready to clap.
All right. Again, we're coming to you live from the Liberty Street Restaurant, downtown Galleria, 8 to 9 o'clock every Thursday night. My guest now sitting right to my immediate right is Coach Joe Rival, the Bellarmine, and Jim Spalding, the athletic director there. And first, let me talk to Jim a minute. How many years you been at Bellarmine? 30 years now?
Finished 32, Paul, and I was a graduate of Bellarmine in 55, so actually I've been there 36 out of the last 38 years.
And Joe's been here, what, 20 years? I guess you hired him, right?
Yes, in 1971.
20 years you've been there.
Well, he became coach in 71. I think he came with the program in 70.
Well, Paul, this is my 29th year coaching.
29 at St. X, of course. You were here with St. X
for 9 years, and I've been at Bellarmine for 19. In fact, we both can remember when Paul Hornung was a basketball player for Fly-J High School. Yes.
Joe, you had a great year last year. What, 22 and 8?
22 and 8.
Had a terrific setback here last couple of weeks. Right?
Well, we have. We're coming off of a very outstanding year. We were 22 and 8. We were as high as 7th in the nation in Division II last year. We also beat the #1 team in Division II in the NCAA tournament by 14 in Owensboro. And we had all 5 starters back, but we've had a few setbacks. And of course, our most recent one is, and most unfortunate, is that Tom Schurfron's our 6'11" center. Fell in practice last week, broke his wrist, and he's out for the season. So he's going to be quite a loss. But the good thing about it is that he is a pre-med student, but he is planning on coming back for a 5th year, which means he is going to be playing for Bellarmine College for 2 more years.
That's great. Let me ask Jim, you got a special thing coming up Thanksgiving week. Why don't you tell folks about it?
Yeah, we've traditionally been playing with IUS in what's called Bellarmine IUS Classic. And last year we got the Kentuckiana Rotary Clubs of this area in southern Indiana to sponsor the tournament. And the advanced proceeds go to providing a student-athlete scholarship. It's kind of unique, Paul, in the sense that we have a revenue sport that's using an event through the Rotary Clubs to sponsor a scholarship for a non-revenue recipient at the high school level.
Where are tell us about the games, what day, how much tickets are, give us a
Okay, the games will be played Friday night at IUS, and Joe, you might help me out here.
All right, game time will be 6:30 and 8:30, and at the 6:30 game, Bellarmine will play Lincoln University. And at the 8:30 game, IU Southeast will play Troy State. And then the next night we'll come over to Bellarmine. We'll swap opponents. We'll pick an all-tournament team for the weekend. Game times on Saturday night at Bellarmine will be 6:30 and 8:30. And both these teams that are coming in, Troy State and Lincoln University, they'll both have some outstanding athletes. They're both Division II schools, and they'll play fine basketball. So
next Friday and Saturday night.
Next Friday and Saturday night. That's Thanksgiving weekend.
Okay. How about it for Jim Spalding and Joe Rival? Done an outstanding job right here with one of the great colleges in America, Bellarmine College. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
I'll be right back with the UPS football forecast in just a minute.
We could have been satisfied being the home of the chimichanga. After all, a chimichanga is the Chi-Chi's celebration, all wrapped up in a tortilla. But hearing you say wow wasn't enough, so we created the Cowabunga Chimichanga Special. It's our famous chimichanga, plus cheese, nachos, and sopapillas, all for $6.95. Wow, you say? No, Cowabunga.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months. It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
This is the shop of Samsat Bazaar, a thriving establishment on the outskirts of Bangkok. Unlike other international executives, he has no phone system, no computers, not even a fax machine. He does, however, enjoy one modern and efficient service nearly 4 billion people in 175 countries today can take for granted. UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
It's the right beer now, but not now. It's the right beer now, but definitely not now. Coors Light, it's the right beer now, and absolutely, positively not now. No way.
Come on, Jimmy, let me get your cab.
You know, I always get a kick out of the bowl matchups. They always say we're not going to extend invitations till November 25th. Most of your major bowls have already been cut and dried. The deal's been done, and everybody knows, I think, that Notre Dame is going to be playing Colorado in the Orange Bowl. Alabama's going to be one of the teams, of course, in the Sugar Bowl. And most of your teams extend invitations a lot of time before the deadline, but they don't come out publicly and say. So we're going to take a look now at a game that's kind of strange. Nebraska and Oklahoma. This has always been one of the top games of the year forever and ever. Nebraska, of course, coming off a tough loss last week against Colorado, might have dampened their hopes for a national championship. When do you remember that Nebraska would be 10.5-point favorites over Oklahoma? And this, of course, has always been the biggest game of the Big Eight from year in and year out. But Nebraska, a very strong favorite. I think Nebraska will have a little trouble with Oklahoma this week, to the sad tune for David Bucart, who is the owner here of the restaurant. He's a former University of Oklahoma graduate. He thinks Oklahoma's going to be a win and upset. So we got a little dinner bet on this one. Illinois should have not have a little trouble. I think it'll be a tough ball game, but Illinois playing at home. Indiana, Jeff George throwing the football a little bit too much. Anthony Thompson, of course, is just getting more statistics each week. They're really pushing him for the Heisman Trophy. I think he's got an excellent chance. If he could have a great day against the University of Illinois, I really believe that Anthony Thompson may be the favorite next week for the Heisman Trophy if he can have a very, very good week this week. Iowa should have a little trouble with Purdue. Now, Notre Dame is a solid 10-point favorite over Penn State, but it's at Penn State. Notre Dame has never beaten Penn State at Penn State. They're a lot better football team. Penn State, I think, is record 6-2-1 on the year, but Joe Paterno, I've always felt, is one of the classiest and one of the great coaches in college football, and they are sitting there waiting in awe. He said Blair Thomas is as good a halfback as he's ever had at Penn State, and he's ready to play football. He's 100%. This is going to be a close football game, I believe. I don't think Notre Dame is going to run over Penn State because Tony Sacca, who's their quarterback, can throw the football. Florida is an 8-point favorite over Kentucky. I think it'll be close, but Kentucky, having won their first road game in 15 last week, has to go down to Florida, and that may be a little bit too much for Kentucky. But if Kentucky can beat Florida, come home and beat Tennessee, I definitely think that the Independence Bowl, maybe the Peach Bowl, they're going to offer UK a bowl bid. And UK will be in a bowl, I believe, if they can beat Florida and Tennessee the last couple of weeks. U of L going up to Boston College. This is a picket game, and this is a must game for Hart Schnellenberger's program. Boston College, well, to be very truthful, they got a lot of big, slow, white offensive linemen. They try to beat up on you, but they're not quick enough. They're just too big and they're too slow. They will not beat U of L. I think U of L, and I think Jeff Brom is going to play a little bit more this week, and he's showed that this kid is one of the great young quarterbacks, I think, in the country as a freshman. We haven't seen him too much, but he's got that kind of ability. Louisville is going to beat Boston College. We hope this week. We'll be right back with a special NFL piece. I think they're going to enjoy it.
Mr. Ian McKenzie. I'm Angus McKenzie. Ian's moved down the road.
Today, with service to 175 countries,
Oh, you've been wanting Ian Alistair McKenzie.
UPS delivers to nearly 4 billion people,
Also for McKenzie.
including the extraordinary concentration of Mackenzies along the northeast coast of Scotland.
Mr. Ian Alistair McKenzie. No trouble finding me, did you, lad?
No trouble at all. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
It's here. It started. Lotto has come to make new Kentucky millionaires. And just one more thing. Now, summarizing my key points.
Play Lotto Kentucky. Tickets are on sale now, and the drawing is at 7:28 p.m. on, well, take a wild guess. It's a whole new reason to love Saturdays.
What's the advantage of leasing a new Buick from Good Buick? It's simple. You can purchase a 1990 Century and pay $259 a month for 60 months, or lease that same car for $177 a month for only 48 months. Purchase a 1990 Riviera for $459 a month for 60 months, or lease a Riviera for $387 a month for only 48 months. It's to everyone's advantage to lease. Good Buick, where the great American road leads.
If you feel life's more interesting when you make a splash.
It's the right beer now.
If you feel a great beer starts with great water.
It's the right beer now.
Because you're the kind of person who likes to get to the bottom of things. Call for the Silver Bullet, the one that won't slow you down.
Coors Light. It's the right beer now.
Welcome back. You know, each week this is a time of the show where we try to feature a piece from NFL Films out of Philadelphia, and I really want to thank them for giving us the opportunity to show you this kind of stuff. This is very expensive stuff from Philadelphia. This Steve Sable gives me a break because I've done them so many favors in life, and I really couldn't afford to buy these kind of pieces that you're about to see, but he's been good for the. He said, Paul, your first year doing the show, we're going to send them to you, and we're going to take it easy on your pocketbook. And anyway, I think I got a good piece for you this week. It's about quarterbacks, and how do you rate a quarterback over the years? It's a very tough statistical job to rate a quarterback as he's having. Who's having the best year as a quarterback? You watch.
Every time he throws the ball, what is the average amount of yardage he gains? Now, an incompletion is 0. So I'm not just saying average per completion. It's average per attempt in throwing the ball.
If the quarterback is throwing the ball on a lot of layoff kind of things, you may or may not be moving the football. Any quarterback can come back and lay the ball off all the time and look pretty good statistically. It's the producer, the guy that's going to move the team down the field, that would have to have those bigger numbers.
In 1988, the Ickey Shuffle and the Bengals rushing attack drew the attention of the media and NFL defenses. Meanwhile, number 7, Boomer Esiason, play-action passed Cincinnati to the Super Bowl with the league's best per-pass average by far.
Boomer of play-action off to his left. Look wide open. There's the man down there, Eddie Brown. He may go. Eddie Brown.
Historically, the common thread that connects every single team that has played for the NFL championship since 1957 is that its quarterback averaged more yards per pass than its oppositions did. Even the 1966 Packers won by the pass. Their legendary 3 yards in the cloud of dust running game actually ranked next to last in the NFL. It was Bart Starr's league-high 9 yards per pass attempt that really carried their offense. It seems to be no coincidence, then, that the career record holder for yards per pass is Otto Graham, who took his team to the championship game every year he played. But just as great passers make their teams great, great teams help make their passers great. So far in 1989, Joe Montana leads the NFC with 8.91 yards per pass attempt, thanks in large part to Jerry Rice and the 49er receivers. Who has the NFC's lowest average? Philadelphia's Randall Cunningham, whose passing game has been off stride all season long. The 6-3 Eagles have compensated by leading the NFL in the statistical category with the highest correlation to winning of all, taking the ball away from their opponents more than they turn it over themselves.
I think it is the key issue. If you turn the ball over, you're going to lose. You know, there's just no way around it. There are overwhelming statistics that say you just don't have much chance to win. So that turnover ratio probably is the key stat in evaluating the winner and the loser.
Okay, I got my man up there. I've asked my man Kilmer to come up here and take a look at these games with us as a guest analyst. And we're going to start off, Billy, with Buffalo traveling to New England. They're solid 4.5-point favorites. Who do you like, their home team dog, or do you like the favorite?
Yeah, normally I like a home team dog. I think New England with Steve Grogan playing quarterback is playing a little more consistent, and they're getting a lot more out of their team. Buffalo, offensively, they're not getting the most out of Jim Kelly. And Kelly's this is what, his second week coming back. Buffalo's got a great defense, but I think New England will cover here.
Well, I like Buffalo. And I'll tell you why, because Buffalo is 1-7 against the number on the road the last 8 games. They've got to be due. New England's banged up a little bit, so I'm going to go with Jim Kelly. I think they're going to put some points on the board. I disagree with you, Mr. Kilmer. How about Miami, 6 points over Dallas?
There's no doubt I like Miami here. Miami has got a running game again. Sammy Smith is running real good and takes a lot of pressure off Dan Marino. The defense of Miami is playing well this year. They got more sacks than they all did all last year. Dallas is just Dallas right now. You know, personally, I like to see him this way.
You don't like Jimmy Johnson either, I guess.
Well, I got nothing against Jimmy Johnson. Just that old cowboy hatred I've had for years.
That goes back to the Washington-Dallas days, of course. Miami, Dallas has beat the number the last 3 weeks. But I have to agree with you. I like Miami and lay the 6. Dallas really having their problem. New Orleans, this looks like a cinch, doesn't it? 3 points over Atlanta at Atlanta. Who do you like?
Well, it does. You know, New Orleans is playing pretty good right now. They have a good defense. You know, here's another dog at home. Yeah, I hate to play against dogs at home. Atlanta, I think, got their sails knocked out of them the last couple of weeks. I like their quarterback, Chris Miller. Man,
Yeah,
he's going to be one of the best if they get something around him. I got to go with New Orleans.
Well, I like Atlanta. I like the home team dog. I don't know why. I just don't. New Orleans is having their problems this year. They're not as good a football team as I think that they were cracked up to be for the season. Detroit at Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming back home, 7-point favorites over Detroit, who's really having a problem with that stretch offense.
Well, I don't know. Detroit's won, the last week, and they look good. They all should have won the week before against Houston. Their offense seems to be gelling. Cincinnati coming off a Monday night game. You know, I just don't like teams coming off Monday night games favored by that much, so I'll go with Detroit.
I'm going to go with Detroit, too. Take the 7 points because Detroit is 5-0 on the road the last 5 games against the number. They've won every time. And Cincinnati usually plays very well at home, Billy, but I think you're right. And the great James Brooks is really, I think, the key to that offense. Very quickly, Tampa Bay at Chicago. Chicago, 10 points.
Yeah, I got to go with Chicago here. Tampa Bay has just kind of lost it.
Kansas City and Cleveland. I go along with you. I like Chicago minus the 10. Kansas City and Cleveland, 7.
I don't know. Kansas City's an improved team, but Cleveland's going for the playoffs. They're going for the juggler. I like their defense. Bernie Kosar seems to be back on track. I got to go with Cleveland here.
I think there may be a little letdown for the Browns. Kansas City, Marty Schottenheimer, the new coach, was formerly with Cleveland. I think 7 points is going to be a little bit too much. I look for that to be close. I disagree with you. Minnesota and Philadelphia, one of the good games. Philadelphia really having a problem. $3 million for Cunningham. In the last 7 weeks, he has not been worth it.
Well, you know, the thing about Cunningham is he's a great athlete. And if you let him run around, he can do a lot of damage. But teams have found out how to play him. They contain him and got dog up the middle and put pressure on him at the middle. Now, if they keep him in the pocket and let him pass, without the running game they have right now, Philadelphia can't win unless special teams or defense win. So I got to go with Minnesota with an all-around better team.
Well, I like Philadelphia until I heard that, and I'm going to go with you. I like Minnesota, too. We'll be back with the last 7 games in the NFL in just a minute.
If you don't want to slow down on your way to the top. It's the right beer now. Because you know to make a beer as refreshing as a mountain stream, you gotta start with a mountain stream. It's the right beer now. When a night on the town might last all night, call for the taste preferred at better night spots. The silver bullet, the one that won't slow you down. It's the right beer now. We could have been satisfied being the home of the chimichanga. After all, a chimichanga is the Chi-Chi's celebration, all wrapped up in a tortilla. But hearing you say wow wasn't enough, so we created the Cowabunga Chimichanga Special. It's our famous chimichanga plus cheese, nachos, and sopapillas, all for $6.95. Wow, you say? No, Cowabunga.
Welcome back to Coors Light, NFL picks. As Billy, we start off with San Diego and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh coming back home 2.5-point favorites. It's hard for me to look at Pittsburgh being favored over too many football teams.
I agree with you. I think this is just a home field favorite. San Diego's won the last 2 times. Their defense has been playing very good all year. Their defense has only given up 1 touchdown per game in the last 3 or 4 games. I like San Diego. I think they're starting to gel.
Me too. And McMahon has played more games in a row for San Diego than he did with the Bears the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, I think he's happier with Dan Henning out there. Henning's got a good approach to the game. He doesn't have the conflict he had with Ditka there. I think he's happier out there.
Green Bay and the 49ers. 49ers, I think, are the best football team in the National Football League. And they're the only team, I think, that knows how to score 3 or 4 touchdowns in the second half after they've scored 2 or 3 in the first half.
Well, the interesting story about San Francisco is they got a vendetta this year. You know, Joe Montana wants to prove that Bill Walsh wasn't the genius that he is. Joe Montana really wants to win for the San Francisco, and they're on a real crash course. They could repeat. I think they will repeat as long as Montana's healthy.
Which brings up a good point that you were talking about. There's a difference between a passer and a thrower.
Yes, sir.
Montana is a passer.
Montana is pure a passer. He knows how to put a touch on the ball. He knows how to gun it, and he has great instincts, and there's not many of them around anymore.
Cunningham, for instance, Randall Cunningham, not a passer.
Well,
there's
Randall Cunningham. A lot of the young guys are throwers. Even John Elway, I would consider a thrower. He's a great athlete, does a lot for his team, but he's a thrower. He's not a passer like the Bart Starr, United, Sonny Jurgensen mold.
You got the touch. You're talking about the touch.
You know,
the overall ability.
Timing and the whole thing. That's my point.
All right, Raiders, Houston 5 points at home. Houston hadn't covered at home last couple of weeks. Houston 5-point over the Raiders.
Well, I'm sorry, but Houston coming off a Monday night game, 5-point favorite. If Steve Berline plays for LA Raiders, I really like the Raiders here. I'm not.
He's going to play.
If he's going to play, I think the Raiders will cover and probably will win the game.
I like the Raiders +5 also. They are 4-1 under Art Shell.
Right.
I mean, they really made great strides. I think, as they say, we're back to playing Raider football. Phoenix, 11-point dog to the LA Rams at home, and the Rams are healthy again for the first time in a long time.
And Phoenix really isn't. They've been hurting, and they've had a lot of problems, so I got to go along with you. That's a big number in the NFL, and not too many of those numbers click, but the Rams are ready, and they're hungry again.
3 touchdowns. I love it. The Rams over Phoenix. Seattle, the New York Giants, 9.5 over Seattle. What's happened to Seattle this year?
Boy, that's a mystery to me. I don't know. That ground chuck offense doesn't seem to click, and Dave Craig's had a bad year. They're changing quarterbacks. They're putting Kelly Stouffer in. I don't know if that'll make any difference. The Giants are, they lose last week going back home. I think the Giants will cover.
I tell you, it's pretty good spot, pretty tough spot for a young quarterback. Kelly Stouffer gets his first start against a defense like the Giants at the Meadowlands. So I like the Giants too, -9.5. The Jets in Indianapolis. Indianapolis 6-point favorites, and of course that old adage, who cares?
Well, that's sort of, I kind of care because Joe Walton was my offensive coordinator at New York Jets and a good guy, and I'm kind of pulling for him. I think he has a real shot this week against Indianapolis. They seem to be demoralized. Eric Dickerson is not running with the abandon he has in the past, and he's fumbling a lot. and they don't really have a quarterback that's consistent. So I like the Jets on this number.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I love Indianapolis coming back at home. I just think they've got a lot better football team than the New York Jets. And the Jets have stayed, I think, a little bit too long with Mr. O'Brien. I don't think, you know, he throws.
Well, here's a game that I'm not going to disagree with you, man. You're right. It is a game that you got to throw out if you're going to wager.
Right. Denver and Washington. The former, the Redskin man, 2.5 point over Denver. This is a tough football game here. Monday night.
Well, if I'm betting it, I got to go with Denver. Washington has had their problems. They really decimated in the offensive line. You know, they've lost everybody except Jeff Bostic, their center. It's a whole new offensive line from when I was at training camp. Doug Williams, third week, and he just doesn't look insane. Denver playing great. Defensively, they're playing great. They found a running game in Bobby Humphrey. Elway is consistent. So Denver is just a team that's playing well, and Danny Reeves done a great job with this team.
I'll go along with Denver, too. And boy, I tell you, Monday nights have killed me. Last week, I was 7-7. Week before that, I had my second losing week at 6-8. We're still a few games over 500, Billy, for the whole year. And I hope you don't kill me.
No, I'll get you on the right track. I got you.
All right, I just want to thank Billy Kilmer again. Let's thank him, ladies and gentlemen. He's my guest, and I'll tell you who we got when we come back.
Some insurance didn't even pay for your mom's allergy shots.
Or your cold last month. And because I didn't reach the deductible, it didn't pay for my stitches.
Humana has a range of plans to meet your needs, from affordable deductibles to no deductible at all.
Sue, what did my company insurance cover last year?
Nothing.
If you want coverage you can use, you want Humana.
Paul Hornung here for J.C. Bradford. You know, I've been investing with J.C. Bradford for over 20 years. Why? Well, first of all, I trust them. They know what they're doing here, and the bottom line is I've made money with J.C. Bradford. You don't have to have a large portfolio to get good service from Bradford's brokers. Here at Bradford, they treat everyone like a big investor. They really do care. So if you want to watch your money grow, call J.C. Bradford and let them go to work for you. I did.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to tell you, next Tuesday, not Thursday night, next Tuesday night, we're going to be right here live, and we're going to have as our guests Rick Pitino and Jerry Claiborne. Now, I'm going to go down there Monday and talk with these two gentlemen. They can't be here in person, but we're going to have it on tape for you, the interviews with Rick Pitino and Jerry Claiborne. And we're going to have another special guest that I think you'll enjoy. Anyway, we'll get into that later. I just want to mention right here, this is the best paper, I think, as far as football news is in America. It's called Football News. It comes out of Detroit. And if you're really interested in professional or college football, this is the magazine to get. This gives you everything. Gives you the games last week, the weeks before, how they did against the number. This is probably the most informative magazine, I think, on the market. I just thought I'd pass that on. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Remember, next week, 8 o'clock, same spot. Store, cable, channel 11, Paul Hornung Sports Showcase. Next Tuesday, we're going to be here Tuesdays. It got me all screwed up. Next Tuesday, we're going to have it. Not going to be here on Thanksgiving night. Next Tuesday, remember, 8 to 9 o'clock, right here. Thank you very much, and thank you, everybody, for coming.
The Paul Hornung Sports Showcase has been brought to you by UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business. By the Collins Auto Group, where one name means more. More selection, more value, more service. By Humana, high-quality healthcare services at affordable prices. By Coors Light, there's no slowing down the silver bullet. By your local Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant, where every day is a celebration of food.